Okay. Happy Thursday to everybody. Um, yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome. So let's go, through some questions here. What time is it? Time is now. Where are we? We're here. All right. So welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday evening. It's about us. And as I like to say, if there's no you, there's no us. So I appreciate you being here tonight. And I'm wearing my little hat and I got my glasses on. So I'm kind of incognito. I've got my disguise going on so you don't know who I guess I left my name down in the corner right here. So you do know who I am. Darn. Wow. I need to remember that. Wow, man. Okay. Anyway, it's nice to be here. It's got a little warm today. We've had some wacky weather this week, right? We'll talk about that a little bit. It's kind of hard to plan, right? Hard to plan. But first, let me give you a little bit of an update here as to what's going on with me. Okay. And again, thank you for being with me here tonight live. And thank you for watching the recording. So it's always wonderful to know that people are watching. Anyway, so I got an email this week about last week's show. So last week I showed a video about Bigfoot. I thought it would be interesting. I thought it'd be fun. I'm usually really careful, like with the music. I'm really careful that it's public domain stuff. There's some stuff I can use, right? Well, unfortunately, the group that published that video on YouTube contacted YouTube about my show, and that entire show got yanked. It's unfortunate. I had no intention of, infringing on anybody's right, proprietary information, but que sera, sera. So I've got one strike against me. It felt weird. I like to play by the rules as much as I can. It was unintentional. I may reach out to that organization and say, hey, I'm sorry. It was unintentional. I'll never do it again. I just thought it would be interesting it was interesting to me, and I thought it'd be interesting to others. So, so there you have it. It was sad. It was unfortunate, but que sera, sera. Anyway, if you're joining me live, please leave a comment so that I can say hello and greet you personally for being with me this evening. We got a few things to talk about. There's an awful lot going on in our country. Last week, honestly, there was a lot of negativity, and that was pointed out that there was a lot of negativity. And unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff going on that is concerning and difficult. But I don't think it's beneficial to spend a lot of time dwelling on negative stuff. But what is beneficial, I think, is being aware of what's going on. So we're not caught by surprise, so that we can participate in community dialogue, right? So let's start tonight with an episode that I call a COVID Minute. We're going to talk about current status of COVID locally and our country. And it's a global pandemic. So there's actually a global situation that's outside of our country, includes our country, that we would be remiss not to pay attention to, because it will get here if we're not careful. Anyway, so what's going on? What's going on is most recently, Sacramento County today issued the guideline, not a guideline, it's a mandate. They issued a mandate that if you are indoors in a public place, whether you're vaccinated or not, you are to wear a mask. That is mandated, right? And it's something that, doggone it, we could have avoided. I mean, nobody wants that. I mean, to me, it doesn't. I mean, I can wear a mask. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't infringe on who I am, or I don't feel it detracts from my personal liberty. As a matter of fact, I call it a freedom mask because it gives me the freedom to be out in public, right? But anyway, a lot of people don't like it, but because people aren't getting vaccinated, that has allowed the virus to mutate. Now we have this Delta variant, and the larger pool that the virus has to infect creates a greater opportunity for a new variant to arise. Most mutations are harmless. They actually don't do any good. They might even hurt the virus itself. But once in a while, a mutation will take place that ramps it up, makes it more transmissible, makes it more infectious, makes it more deadly. And that's kind of what we're dealing with this Delta variant. It took me a minute. My mind, poor mind, a waste is a terrible thing to mind. That's what I always say. Anyway, so we've brought this upon ourselves because there's so many people that are unwilling, for whatever reason, to be vaccinated. They're unwilling to wear masks, and it allows this thing to spread like crazy. And it creates a spike in infections, which then leads to hospitalizations, which then leads to getting in the ICU, which then leads to death. And even if they don't die, and I know I don't want anybody to die, but the increase in the ICU, it overloads the capacity of our hospitals so that other types of illnesses and extreme cases that need hospital care can't get hospital care. So it creates this big problem, this bottlenecking of healthcare that's unnecessary. And that's a problem. And Sacramento County is one of the worst counties in California. California as a state's not doing too badly, but they are seeing an increase. But it's not too bad countrywide. But Sacramento County is not doing well within the state. There are many states that aren't doing well at all, like Florida, and I think Missouri, and maybe Texas, and Wisconsin, I think, are some of the hard-hit states. And it's just sad that that people, for whatever reason, won't get vaccinated. I was reading something that was written by a guy named Ezra Klein, who is a pretty good writer. And he was writing about the fact that we're at a stage right now in our country where everyone that was willing to get a vaccine probably has it. Those who are wait and see, they have it. People that were a little bit hesitant because they're just, gosh, I don't know. Many of them have actually chosen to take the vaccine. We're pretty much got down to the population of people who are never vaxxers. There's no way, no how, no way. And how hard it is, nigh on impossible to change a person's mind. And I think that's true across the board. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's politics or religion or, in this case, COVID-19 and vaccinations. If a person, and I honestly believe that people are, and I agree with, if you get a chance to read the Ezra Klein article, it's worth it. People are making risk calculations based on the information that they have. If they are receiving the information that's incorrect, then they're making incorrect calculations, which is sad. Getting them to transition from their information source to a different information source is often very, very difficult. And a lot of it has to do with trust, right? So I don't know what we're going to do about that. So we're in a tight spot as a country and as a state and as a county. And I think as a country, because, there are a lot of countries that don't have access to the vaccine. They'd like to, but they don't have access to the vaccine. And so the virus has just got free reign. And because it's got free reign, it then has the opportunity to mutate. Once it mutates, then it has the opportunity to spread to other places, which is, the Delta variant that we're dealing with. It started, I think, in India. And, viruses, they travel. They just travel. And it's here. And it's one of the most prevalent strains of the virus right now. So, go figure, right? Go figure. So, if you haven't received the vaccine, I encourage you to continue doing some research, keep an open mind, listen to people, who turned down the vaccine and then contracted the virus and now are in the hospital in very dire straits, that wish they had taken the vaccine. Those stories are out there. So keep an open mind, please keep an open mind. And one of the things about my sunglasses, which, they're kind of fun to wear, kind of, right? It's the ZZ Top effect. But I've got distance only lenses. So I really have a hard time seeing the small print on my computer screen. So I'm now going to transition. Hello, there I am. I'm going to transition to my regular glasses, right? Why not? Let's see, where do I have them underneath here? Close at hand. Here we go. And here we go. Maybe these will make me look smarter than I really am. I don't know. Okay, so now I can see. Here we go. Yeah. So anyway, it's tough stuff. And so starting tomorrow, Sacramento County wants everyone, vaccinated and unvaccinated, to wear masks if they are indoors in a public area. It starts tomorrow. So, that's what we're going to be dealing with for a while. And, Yolo County started it, and then I think LA County's on board, and now Sacramento County's on board. And it's because of the fact that the cases are exponentially rising again. And we've got to do what we need to do to get that caseload back down. So personally, I will probably be staying home a lot. If I don't have to go out, I'm not going to go out. I just don't know what the future looks like at this point. Time will tell. And hopefully we'll get this thing under control again so we can loosen things up. But sad, right? Pretty sad. Okay, what else is going on? And there's another issue. And it's going to impact a lot of people. May impact me. I don't know. On Saturday, something big is happening Saturday. On Saturday, the moratorium on rents ends, which means that for a lot of people, a balloon amount of money will be due. And if you've not been paying rent from the beginning of the lockdown, when you were unable to work, if you've not been paying rent for almost a year and a half, that could be a lot of money. And if your landlord wants that payment right now, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm anticipating lots of evictions. which would mean that if you've been in your abode for a year or better, they have to give you a 60-day notice. So that means that within 2 months, a little after 2 months, we could potentially see just a rash of homelessness, a big spike in homelessness. That's very sad, very, very sad. So I don't know what's going to happen. I remember when this first started and they placed a moratorium on rent. I contacted one of my colleagues that works in the field of housing, affordable housing. And I said, this isn't really solving the problem because it's just kicking the can down the road. And when these rents come due, people are going to be in trouble. That's exactly what we're seeing. There's been no, as far as I know, there's been no discussion about forgiving those past debts, which, there's a couple of things to think about here. One is the renter who's paying that can't pay, right? And then there's the landlord that hasn't been receiving any rent to help pay for the property that they own. So it's difficult, right? So it would be, to me, the solution would be forgiving the rent, and then the landlord could submit the past rent bill to the government, and the government could pay that cost. And then people could start fresh with paying rent. Because it's just not reasonable to expect people to be able to pay rent that's a year and a half old. It's just not going to happen. Or if you have a mortgage, it's just not going to happen. So I pay attention to Saturday and Sunday and next week in the realm of affordable housing and rents, because it's going to get really wild, I think, as people will start to get evictions for their past due rents. So I hope there's a solution coming down the pike at some point. I don't see it, but gosh, I hope something happens. You just never know. When I was working for the Independent Living Center here in Sacramento, one of my main issues was affordable and accessible housing, because people that lived on, SSI, and the state kicks in a little extra SSP, could not afford the prevailing rents. They really relied on subsidized housing. But here's the kicker. Even if it's subsidized, if it's not physically accessible, what good is it, right? So advocating for not just affordable but accessible housing is absolutely paramount. And if, it's not just people with disabilities. Look at seniors. Being able to age in place, being able to stay in your home as long as you physically can, means having certain systems in place, that physical access, grab bars in the bathroom, in the shower, having ramps, having, everything physically accessible. You can stay in your home. It's important. But so many seniors, they acquire a physical disability as they age, and they can't stay at home anymore. So they have to go into some type of care. Anyway, so people with disabilities and seniors often link arms to advocate for the things that we need. That's important. So Saturday is going to be a big day. We'll see what happens. So what else is happening? Oh, guess what I've been able to figure out. So one of the things that, as a live streamer, podcaster, I'm always curious about, now, how do, people do things with their voice and this and that and the other thing? And mixing, right? People have these expensive mixers. They've got all these gizmos and things. Well, I use a post-production device. So if I am working with recorded sound, I use Logic Pro as my digital audio workstation. And I got to thinking, is it possible to use my digital audio workstation as a mixer for live broadcasts? So I started fooling around with it, and sure enough, I figured out how to do it. So, I made a video. It's on my YouTube channel on how to do a call-in show using a Mac and Loopback, which is some software done by Rogue Amoeba. I'm thinking about maybe I'll do a video on how to use Logic Pro as a live mixer, and I'm using it right now. Let's play with that a little bit. Okay, let's play with it. So let me I've got it minimized. Let me bring it up here. And okay, so I've got it. There it is. And let me share it here. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so there is my Logic Pro. Let me bring it up big here. There's that. Let me take off that little icon at the top. There we go. You can see there's the track, and I'm not recording anything. There's no tracks recording, right? It's just the sound. And you can see it going up and down with my voice. And I've got various filters on here, which is kind of cool for my sound. And what I'm going to do, let's just play with it a little bit, right? Let's just play. So let me bring it up here. Where are you? Oh, let me just show you Loopback real quick. Hang on a second. So let me bring up Loopback. So let me just kick that out, and then I'll show you Loopback and show you what I've done. So it's kind of complicated, not too complicated. So I've got, this is my call-in. Remember I told you I created a call-in show. And when I do a call-in, it'll come in on Safari, and then it'll end up over here. But I also created a little microphone, virtual microphone called Logic Pro. And there it is, into Scarlett 212 USB. So then that stream goes into the Scarlett, and it makes sound, right? Okay, cool. So that's how I bring the sound into the channel. So let me go back and bring in Logic Pro, okay? Logic Pro, where are you, Joe? Logic Pro, here it is. Okay, so there's Logic Pro, all right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up there's this thing called, where are you here? There's this thing called vocal. It's like a vocal transfer kind of a thing. It's really weird. And let me see if I can bring it up in to share the screen with you and show you what I'm doing here. So let's bounce that out, and we'll bring this in here. Da 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 da. And I don't know where it is. Honestly, that's just weird, right? So does it show? It doesn't, but that's okay. So you can hear what it does. So I'm going to turn it on, and this is called Plasma Tunnel Alien. Plasma Tunnel. So if I was an informer for the FBI, I could disguise my voice. Pretty crazy, huh? Yeah. What else we got here? We've got something called, let's see, deep transient gauge. Let's see what this sounds like. do all kinds of things here. Mix it weirdly. There you go. Yeah, go figure. Yeah, let's turn this rascal off. There you go. And let's get back to basics. Back to basics, back to basics. Where am I? Okay, there we go. So yeah, so it's kind of fun. I figured out how to use my Logic Pro as a live mixer. I can do all kinds of things to my voice. So what I did was I added some reverb, I added some compression. I did some things to the sound to try to enhance my voice. Whether it worked or not, whether it actually I achieved what I was looking for, I don't know. But anyway, it was fun. It's fun. Okie dokes. So where does that bring us to? It brings us to right here. So we're looking at, it's about 7:30. So we're roughly halfway through. One of the big events that took place this week was in Washington, D.C., and there's a House Select Committee investigating the events of January 6th. It was very emotional. It was very emotional. The officers, they gave testimony. Very, very emotional. And I think that I didn't watch the whole thing. I've just watched excerpts of it. And from what I understand, there was body cam footage that's not been seen before. But it's pretty clear that January 6th was a bad day for America. And it's sad that politically, we're coming at the events of January 6th from two diametrically opposed perspectives. It's very sad because what happened that day is what happened. I mean, those are the facts of the day, right? What happened happened. There is a video clip of people walking through in the stanchions, kind of, in order. That's fine. But look at all of the video of the chaos and the damage and the physical injury that took place that day. It's undeniable. It's irrefutable. So it obviously was not a normal day in the Capitol. They weren't just tourists. Were there people that were calm and sort of behaved themselves? It seems like there were. But were there an awful lot of people that weren't? Yep. And that's irrefutable. That needs to be figured out, right? There's all kinds of questions, right? How come the National Guard didn't arrive sooner? That's a question. I don't know whether we'll get there. I don't know. Did the rally earlier that morning incite the events at the Capitol? We need to figure that out, right? I wasn't there. I'm not in a position to figure that out, but I am in a position to watch and listen. So, and evaluate, right? It's tough stuff. It's tough stuff. We'd like to think of our country as being a certain way, but sometimes that's an illusion. And oftentimes we have to just look ourselves in the eye as to who we are. That doesn't mean everybody, right? It's just, you can't paint with a wide brush. But even if I see myself as innocent in regards to what took place, as a citizen of this country, I take responsibility. I'm an American. Therefore, what happens is as much about me as it is about anybody else. Because I'm an American citizen of the United States. Therefore, I need to be engaged. I need to pay attention. I need to know what's going on, right? Yeah, tough stuff. Yeah. One of the things that we're going to transition into something else, because I don't, honestly, I just don't know how much to talk about that situation. People who were involved, who may have incited the situation, the rioting and the insurrection, they may be trying to deflect from that because it could put them in trouble, right? I get it. If I was in trouble, I would try to get out of it. Doggone it anyway. So anyway, let's transition out of there. One of the things that happens in my apartment is that it stays pretty much the same temperature. If I don't run any air conditioning, heater, or cooling, the temperature in here stays about the same. It's roughly 80. It goes up from like 78 to 82. That's the range, which is cool. I mean, it's great. I love that, right? The lights that I use heat me up, and I've got this vinyl backdrop, so the heat's kind of contained right in this small space. So I feel kind of hot. But it got up to 104 today. At least it did, according to my phone. But then earlier this week, right, it was like in the 70s. It was really cool and overcast. So I think we're getting into an era where our weather is going to be really unpredictable because of our overall global climate changing. Right now, we've got some major fires in California. I saw an article where some of the smoke from the California fires, because of the air currents, has made its way all the way to New York City. Yesterday, because of the air currents, the air quality here in Sacramento, where I live in this downtown area, was 182 AQI, which I'm not sure, air quality index number. It has to do with the particulates in the air, right? 182. And basically it said, don't go outside. Just don't do it. The cloth masks that we wear, hang on. Oh, where'd it go? Oh no, it flew away. Anyway, the cloth masks that we wear, that we've been wearing due to the pandemic, don't stop the particulates from forest fires. You need an N95. Now here's the catch. N95s are being used in the medical industry because of COVID-19. So there aren't N95s out there for us to take. So the cloth mask is about what you got. So when it's 182 AQI, don't go outside. This morning I checked it and it was 23. The air patterns shifted, smoke went away, and the AQI was 23, which is a fine day. It's beautiful air. So 180 something on one day, the next day is 23. I think this is the new normal that we're just going to have to get used to. And personally, what I'm going to end up doing is checking these numbers daily to see what is my behavior going to be like that day. It's like checking the weather app to see if it's raining out. Am I need an umbrella or not? So I'm going to check the air quality. Am I going to need a mask? Am I going to need to stay indoors? Am I going to, whatever. And it's a lot. Those fires are due to the climate change, to the warming of, there's a couple of things in California. A, we've got a drought going on. So things are really dry. Dry. B, it's really hot. And what that causes is it causes thunderstorms in the mountains. And thunder creates, the lightning and thunder go together, it creates fire, forest fires. It's a bad season. We've got a long way to go still. And then if any of it's arson or accidental, if someone still smokes, give it up. But if you do, and you toss your cigarette out the window and it lights a fire, that happens. If you're in the forest and you've made yourself a campfire, and it gets out of control, those are the kinds of things that create forest fires. And once a forest fire, I remember one time, right next to our house was an empty field, and the weeds would just grow and grow and grow. And I remember I don't know why I did this, but I was out there and I started a little fire. And all of a sudden, this fire started growing. And I ran around just stamping it out as fast as I could because it was on the verge of getting out of control. And I was able to put it out. And I was very fortunate that day. But sometimes, it's not thinking that it was going to be okay or that I could take care of it, I could control it, can lead to problems. So be careful. Be careful is all I can ask. It's been a strange week, right? Strange week. There's another thing that's been strange in the last week or so, maybe a little over a week. In the Catholic world, I'm a Roman Catholic. And in the Catholic world, Pope Francis issued what's it's called a motu proprio. It's a letter, it's a document. And what he basically did was he made some serious changes to a document that Pope Benedict XVI Emeritus issued in regards to the traditional Tridentine Mass, allowing it to take place. Pope Benedict XVI did it in good faith, thinking that it would create bridges and create more unity within the church. But what's happened is that there's actually more division. Back in the 60s, 62, 63, 64, maybe as late as 65, there was something called Vatican II, a big council of the church fathers at the time. And they instituted a bunch of things that was different than that which was before it. Not different in like 180 degrees. It was different, but it was a continuation of the tradition of the church going further back into time. Reassourcement, I think, is the term where they went back into the 4th century and earlier to what were the practices of the church, to bring them into the present, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the people who have adopted the Tridentine Mass, the traditional Mass of the church, prior to Vatican II, have also rejected Vatican II, a valid council of the church. They've also rejected Pope Francis as Pope. And so he issued this new document, which repealed what Pope Benedict had done, saying that there's only one ordinary Mass, and that's the post-Vatican II Mass, which can be said in Latin, as a matter of fact. But in going forward, we'll still allow the traditional Latin Mass, Tridentine Mass, to be celebrated, but not in parishes, which I don't know how that's going to work. And if there are any seminarians that wish to learn how to celebrate that rite, then their bishop needs to communicate to the Pope, and they'll talk about it. So that I guess the idea is that over time, that Tridentine Mass will cease to be celebrated, and the people will adopt the new Mass, the Norvis Ordo, as it's called, which can be celebrated in Latin or any vernacular English, Spanish, African, Chinese, you name it, right? That'll be celebrated as the Mass going forward, and that Vatican II will be actively implemented. People need to read it, find out what's in it. How do we live it? How do we live what our church fathers back in the 60s wanted us to live? It's a big deal. And a lot of people are very, very upset. They're very emotionally tied to that particular Mass pre-Vatican II. So there's hurt feelings, there's feelings of betrayal. There's all that going on in the Catholic Church right now, along with, right, I just found out today that ex-Cardinal McCarrick, he's been uncardinalized, unordained, laicized, defrocked, however you want to put it. He's now been legally convicted for sexual abuse. That's the Catholic Church. So there's all these things that are taking place that are just, the church is just, there's just a lot going on, an awful lot going on. So, I look out there and I think, what in the world am I going to do? But you know what? There's always hope. There's always hope because I live my life based on the truth that I have found. And I do it to the best of my ability with God's grace. And I love my brothers and sisters. I love the people that I have friends with, and I love my family and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's important, but I'm not sure how it actually impacts me on a day-by-day basis. We'll see. Whether it's COVID or January 6th or what's happening in the church or rents. Rents will probably eventually affect me, but right now, not so much. So I embrace every day that I'm alive. I'm happy. I'm a part of a men's group, and these guys are wonderful. We're very eclectic, coming from, and coming from different backgrounds, coming from different faith traditions or no faith traditions, sharing our lives with each other. And it's a beautiful thing. It gives me hope. I have coffee with a friend every week and we chat about just oftentimes just chat, and that's just a beautiful thing. I love it. It makes me continue on. I get together with my daughter once in a while and my son when he passes through town. These things are just flowers in my bouquet of life. And they're just lovely, And I've got this live stream. And thank you for those who are here live. Thank you for those who are watching the recording. I do this as much for you as I do for me because I enjoy doing it, right? Sometimes I don't have people I can share things with. And so I take this opportunity to share myself with you in the hopes that you'll share yourselves with me. So, take it a day at a time and we see how it goes. So we got about 15 minutes left. I've set up the call in. So let's put that up here. So we got that phone number. And the phone number is 916-545-5376. And I haven't shown any videos today off of YouTube. I'm trying to stay away from that. I'm thinking about maybe not live streaming to YouTube because Facebook and Twitch, they let it go through. It's fine. I didn't play any sound. It was just the video, right? But apparently that still wasn't kosher, copacetic, right? And so I'm rethinking all that. Who knows? I'm thinking about potential new shows to do. Maybe a children's show. I was talking to my daughter the other day about some children's shows that were very influential for me. When I was a kid, I was telling someone just today, someone brought up Captain Kangaroo. And Captain Kangaroo had a lot of things going on. It was a children's variety show, honestly. And one of the things they had was a cartoon called Tom Terrific. And Tom Terrific wore, and he's probably on Google. You can find Tom Terrific and watch one. But he's a kid. He would wear this funnel on his head. It was one of my favorite cartoons. And somewhere there's a picture of me, and I guess I should have thought about this, but I didn't. There's a picture of me when this cartoon came on. First of all, my mom bought my sister and I matching rocking chairs. They're tiny. I still have mine. Honestly, it's crazy, right? It's tiny. It's for kids, right? So I would sit in it and I would rock Tom Tom Terrific would come on. I would run to the kitchen, open my mom's drawer, and pull out this giant aluminum, probably was aluminum, funnel, run back to my rocking chair, put the funnel on my head, and watch Tom Terrific. And just enjoyed it like crazy. We had Captain Kangaroo, Mr. Green Jeans, Mr. Moose, right? It was a fun show for kids. I recently shared with someone the show, the Friendly Giant. Friendly Giant was great. This guy would dress up like a fantasy giant, back in the day. And his set looked like a castle tower that he was standing in. Furniture was miniature, so he looked like a giant. And up high, about head level, was a window. And he would play the flute. It's a beautiful little tune he would play. And then this giraffe would poke his head in to say hello. And he would talk with this giraffe, because a giraffe with that long neck was the only one that could reach the window. That was so much fun. There was Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop, right? Mr. Rogers had a whole segment with puppets, King Friday and Kitty Meow Meow, I think was her name, and all these various characters. Queen, what was her name? I can't remember. But anyway, so puppets played a big deal in my life as a child. I had puppets. I owned puppets. I put on a puppet show when I was in kindergarten. I did all that stuff, and it was fascinating to me, and it still is. So I'm thinking about, maybe doing some different things. So if you're watching and you have a suggestion, let me know. If you know of a puppet maker or a place where I can buy puppets, I've looked at a lot of puppets. I kind of have an idea of what I'm looking for, but just let me know and I'll go check them out. So that's what's coming on. And it'll probably be, I'll make a separate show. It won't be, it's about us. It'll be something completely different. And now for something completely different, right? A man with two noses. Monty Python fans, are you out there? Yeah. So, so that's what's going on. Is there anything else that's happening? Well, yes, there is actually, which should have been in my personal update. However, I'll spill the beans now and we'll do an update later on at some point. But a friend of mine, more than one, actually, two friends of mine are in a band. And it's a fun band. And they've decided, this friend of mine has decided to have a show in his front yard. He's invited the band, hired the band, and he would like me to videotape it. I did a movie, right, of the organs. Do a movie for these guys. And so I'm going to. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So a couple of weeks ago, week and a half ago, they had a dress rehearsal. They played through the entire set. It's like 30 songs. And I attended that, and I made an audio version of all the songs so that I can listen to what it's going to be like and sort of get an idea of the musicians and who's doing what when and take some notes. That was a lot of fun. So eventually I'll be producing either a full-length movie, maybe part 1, part 2, or individual song tracks. And they're going to, whatever they want, right? So that's a project that's coming up. It's in another week, a little over a week. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. What else is going on besides being hot? I can't think of anything. So thank you. Thank you for visiting, being with me. Thank you for watching the recording. And if you are watching the recording, please, if you would try to see if you've got time on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time to join me live so we can chat about what's going on in the world, what's happening in your life and my life. We can share each other's lives. So, okay. So until we meet again, right? You have a great week. Be safe. Be well. Stay cool. And God bless you.